so I went to Lake Placid. I got this a few weeks ago, and I've been filming with it, and we did a little portrait of my friend Nathaniel. So we'll kind of bring that up and talk about that. So yeah, I brought my new camera on my family vacation to Lake Placid with some of my friends and my family, and I thought it'd be a perfect day during this rainy day to do a portrait of my friend Nathaniel. So yeah, just, this is just a fun little quick portrait. I think 2 hours. My friend Nathaniel was nice enough to sit for me, but I was also, this whole time taking a break from YouTube, but also getting really weird with my new camera, which I love. And we'll talk about kind of camera equipment and the necessity and utility that it provides as a tool. But a lot of, I think, YouTubers and content creators, camera and editing is like the biggest thing to remove people from sharing their experience. But in my case, that's also true. Of course, it's busy work. Everything can be busy work, but editing and filming is a huge creative outlet for me. The cinematography, the directorial aspect of it, it's all really fun. So I used this vacation just to get slightly more familiar with this camera because it's all manual. It's like a new company, Sony, so all the settings, everything's a little different, but I was using it just to have fun. And sadly, this angle of this portrait is kind of glary, this weird angle. So my subject Nathaniel was in great lighting, which was more important, and this camera angle was a little glary, which is not wonderful. But we also have a GoPro angle that I'll post in a second. But yeah, so the title of this video is that it will change how I make art, and that's not necessarily true, but it's also extremely true, because again, the whole the way I make videos, it's like the video is a creative project. It's very like Inception kind of. It's like you paint something, which is a project in itself, but then you film it and you make a video of the painting, which is a project, and the video is another project on top of that. This sort of perpetual cycle that goes. So the tools I use to make all those things, the paint, the canvas, all the work for the subject of the fine art, but then also, the camera equipment, the lighting for the video, and then of course editing. It's all, they're all tools you really need that are really important. And again, we'll talk about this later in this video. This camera that I got, which is like a huge cinema camera, which isn't necessarily for time lapses and run and gun stuff, but it's mostly for the podcast and having a really good A camera, a studio camera to be really reliable and really professional and really epic. So that's the reason I got this new Sony FX3. You could see this peanut gallery, my family just walking around while I'm trying to paint Nathaniel. But look at him, he's like a statue, laughing every once in a while. But he was great. Just a 2-hour live portrait sketch. Not the best portrait ever, but super fun. Glad I actually got to bang one out on vacation because I brought this whole setup in the car, all the paints, all the stuff, and it was a wonderful time. Also, in the life of me, there was this awesome homie Christian who was traveling around in his van. He's an awesome artist, and he's going around doing a podcast out of his van. It's called the Sketchy Van Podcast. So shout out Christian. I did one with him in Brooklyn. He also has this art board that I put a little cyclops on, and it was really wonderful. We had a good day together. Really interesting conversation. I don't know when that podcast will come out, but it will be sometime, I'm sure, in the near future, in the next month or so. He's really great. He works for Stan Prokopenko, actually. And this is also just me and Chris messing around. We're doing, testing photos. Chris is my producer, and he pretty much makes the whole podcast happen. So we test content packages for every guest that comes on. So this is just doing some work. Also, Kipto painted a portrait of me. I painted a portrait of him. That video will come out in like a month or something, I don't know, but I'm hanging his portrait of me in the podcast studio. So happy to do this. It's on my side where I sit. It's super wonderful. But again, the video, we're talking about camera equipment, the new tool, the Sony FX3. So yeah, that's what I've been up to. But speaking of camera gear, because I'm talking about the new tool I got, before we talk about this, we got to talk about the sponsor of today's video, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online community with thousands of different classes ranging from all sorts of creative genres like like filmmaking, like photography, like video editing, as well as fine arts, painting and drawing, and they're taught by the leading professionals in each of those disciplines. You cannot beat Skillshare's prices, especially compared to in-person classes. Again, with the world that it is today, in-person things aren't as realistic, and to learn a new craft or new hobby at home is really awesome. Skillshare's user interface, their website, their curriculum, everything is of the highest quality, and it's a really amazing platform curated to actually learn. And whether you're a career professional looking to dive deeper into your craft or a greenhorn newbie looking for a new creative outlet, Skillshare has classes that range for every single type of person. One of my favorite classes that actually helped me a lot by Justin Bridges, Fundamentals of Photo Editing, is a really great class because we're talking about video and photography and production. This is a great class for fundamentals of, photo editing and using kind of editing softwares. So the first 1,000 people that click the link in the description will get a free trial of Skillshare's premium membership. It's a really great offer, and I think the people watching the video can actually use it to their benefit. Okay, so I've wanted to actually talk about this for a while. This isn't gonna be a huge rant. It will be a mini rant about camera equipment. This is the tool. The new camera I got, the Sony FX3. And so we're talking about tools here. We're talking about my job, my business, my passion, my creative desires, the tools I use every single day. Cameras, the computer to edit the footage. Those are equal, if not more important than the painting tools, the canvas, the paintbrush. And so it's something I have a deep passion for. I've said it a lot, but I haven't talked about the gear specifically. This whole studio I'm in, it's an art studio, but it's also video production, photo production, lights, cameras, the technological aspects of all the content, which is a big factor. Anyway, so let's run through some of the camera gears and we'll talk about why I just got this. I also, I did a live portrait painting of my friend Nathaniel. I filmed it with this Sony FX3, kind of tested it out, so that will be part of the video towards the end. I just want to rant really quick about my camera lineage because I think some people are interested. I hear people ask about all the time, but this isn't some tutorial. But the first camera I ever got, the first good camera, you could film with anything. You could film with GoPros. I did time lapses with GoPros for years back in 2014, 2013. Obviously now camera phones are probably even better than GoPros, but the first kind of like DSLR I got was the Panasonic GH5. It was great. It did shoot 4K back in 2014. It was like a revolutionary camera. It doesn't really hold up now. I almost never use it now because now I have like another camera. Sometimes I would use this for a third camera angle, not anymore, but I still have it. Then I upgraded to the GH5, and I've been using this for like 3-4 years strong now. Still use it all the time. Almost everything that's a time lapse, painting time lapse, is filmed with this. It films great 4K. It's just really solid, great battery life, but it's not like a cinema camera. So this is more run and gun. It shoots fine photos. And the camera I'm filming with right now is the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. This also isn't super new. It came out in like 2017 or something, but it's more of a cinema camera. It shoots good color profiles. It has more dynamic range. And so I use this camera a lot for these sort of, still shots, more of like an A setup, talking. I have the mic set up, good lighting. So I wouldn't really use these for that. This is more time-lapse stuff or run and gun. If I'm in the studio, I'll use this. And that was like my A cam for a while. And now I got the Sony FX3. And so the difference between all of these and this one, this is clearly the most expensive. It's brand new, 2021 camera, I think it came out. The lens is really expensive, but it's a full frame cinematic system. Good audio interfaces, and it's just really powerful in terms of the sensor, the dynamic range. All three of these cameras, I've never used autofocus. That wasn't really autofocus capable. So I learned, for the last 5 years to use manual focus and pull everything. Having really good autofocus is amazing now. And these sensors, including the Blackmagic, are small sensors. They're APS-C or whatever they're called, crop. This is a full frame sensor, so it takes full frame glass. And it's just like really, really sexy. And so if you don't care about any of this, that's fine. I don't blame you. But I got this for a new A cam because I'm taking the podcast really seriously. And so I wanted to get a really nice kind of like studio camera. Also for photos, run and gun stuff. This thing can like really do it all. But it costs an arm and a leg. But if you want to ask questions about cameras and camera systems, don't get overwhelmed. This is like 6 years of equipment. that I've been using and accumulated. So things are expensive, but again, we're talking about tools you use every day that make their money back within months because they're so amazing.